Hello, hello. My name is Emmy. Welcome to my channel. If this is your first time watching, thank you for joining. Thank you for finding me. Please do subscribe and turn on that notification bell and join me whenever I come live. For those of you watching me on YouTube, no, Facebook. Hold on really quick. Let me just... All right, let me just pin that. Ooh, it's running kind of slow. All right. All right, so those on Facebook has a tendency to hide the comments. So if you want your comment to actually be seen, join me on YouTube by clicking that link in the pinned comment. All right, well, hello, Friday. Hi, Jade. Hi, Jessica. Hello, Claudia. Hi, Cheryl. Yeah, see, Cheryl just finished my live clinical. I teach people how to harness the energies using my system, Kokoro 33. You can join via my website, emmyevolving.com. But Cheryl was just in my class. I just finished, and she's going to be awake for a while. She's definitely going to be awake for a while. So let's just see really quick. Hello, Troy. Hi, Billy. Hi, Simi. So you guys, I figured I'd be live for just a little bit and talk about resistance versus flow. Hi, Deb. I kind of figure like a lot of people don't realize the difference between resistance and flow, forcing and flow. Definitely resistance and force have nothing to do with flow. It has nothing to do with flow because when you're resisting, when you're forcing, you're actually going against the natural order of your higher self, what your higher self has deemed most appropriate for your growth here in this life. So what ends up happening is you end up going into places, pathways that often include much more harm, much more struggle than is really worth the squeeze. That juice is not worth the squeeze. You end up really, really just feeling destroyed. Okay. I mean, that's in the more severe cases, but for the most part, if you allow yourself to just flow with what your higher self is trying to get you to do, then you minimize the struggle. You really, really do. So case in point, I was attempting to get something done. It was a huge task that I needed to get done. And I planned everything perfectly, made all of the arrangements. If any of y'all know me, I totally I go above and beyond. I have OCD on a whole nother level, and I plan shit out. I plan it out, and I planned this thing out, this event, and fucking everything went to shit. Every single detail of it went to caca. Out of my control. Every single detail of it went to caca, and I was fighting it and fighting. I was like, we can make this work. We can make this work. And then finally I was like, this shit's not working. What the fuck am I doing? This is just not working. You know, and it got to the point where it was like, another person is being affected by this. Another person is being made to go beyond what they're able and willing to do, all so that what I can prove that I can do this. So when it gets to that point, you have to be really honest with yourself and really recognize that's an ego thing, you know? Like, that's an ego thing. I recognize that. It was my ego wanting and needing to prove that I could do it, to be validated. And when you begin to operate in that way, it's just Are you really growing in the most compassionate way for yourself and everyone involved? Is that the most efficient, most compassionate way? For some, it is, because they refuse, like me, refuse to back down and just be stubborn as fuck and keep going and going and going, not realizing that, hey, you playing yourself, girl. And that's what I was doing. I was playing myself. I was just like, I'm exhausted all the time. It's nothing but drama and resistance. And I need to just pause. I need to pause. What am I attempting to manifest? When you get into that really questionable part of like, am I getting resistance because this is where I'm supposed to be? And like demonic things, parasitic things are trying to interrupt my growth, keep me from ascending further? Or am I just fighting myself? Am I fighting myself? My higher self is trying to tell me not to do this, and I'm not listening. And so that's why I have struggle. You won't know unless you pause and allow yourself time to discern. You really, really won't know. I mean, you could take some good guesses. You can definitely make things worse. Keep going, make things worse, and be like, no, I got this. I got this. I could do this. I could do this, which is what I was doing, which is definitely what I was doing. But then I realized I don't know what I'm doing. Why am I doing this? Am I just trying to prove something? Am I using someone else's path to try and prove something about myself? And if I am, is that selfish? And then I finally determined, yeah, that's selfish. You definitely are doing far more than should be done. And it's not that I'm not willing or able to do far more than is needing to be done. I'm willing to go the extra mile for people. But for what? If you're going that extra mile and it's not even benefiting the person that you're going the extra mile for, I mean, how is it going to benefit you spiritually if you're going that extra mile for someone, dragging them on bloody knees and knuckles? You know what I'm saying? Does that give you a good visual? Does that like give you a good visual as to what is going on? You know, you're willing to go the extra mile, but you're dragging them on bloody knees and knuckles. Is that a good thing? I don't think so. I don't think so. I really, really don't think so. And I was recognizing earlier in the week that's what I was doing. That's what I was doing. And at that point, that's selfish. No matter if the intention originated from a pure state, excuse me, that's just selfishness at that point, right? It's just selfishness at that point, and then you have to take accountability for that. Like, you know what? I'm wrong. I'm wrong. I should not have forced this. I'm wrong. And when you enter that state of like acknowledging that you even though it wasn't intentional, the acknowledgement that you miscalculated, you misunderstood, you misdirected yourself, you then slowly begin to fall back into alignment with what you're supposed to be doing, where you're supposed to be going, who you're supposed to be with. And then next thing you know, abundance is flowing again. And this is more than just monetary abundance. This is abundance in all its forms. If you find yourself trying to force your way through a circumstance and suddenly no one's around anymore, your abundance has left. Is that because you need some time to yourself? Do you need some solitude to get clarity on what it is you're trying to do and why? Or have people realized, I'm not in alignment with this shit. I'm out. You know, you have to use your discernment. Like, what is this about? I've had quite a few people, you know, enter and leave my journey. And why did they enter? Why did they leave? I don't know, but I'm just going to keep flowing. I'm going to keep flowing, and I'm going to leave space open for the potentiality of maybe at some point we'll be realigned again and they can come back in and we can experience more of the journey together, or maybe not. And it's perfectly okay, because you know what? The creation, the universe, doesn't like voids. Every time there's a void in existence, it tries to fill it with something else. So if someone or some situation kind of exits your life, a void is left, right? And then what ends up happening? Something else fills that void. And if we're focused on the negative, guess what's going to fill the void? Take a wild guess. Something negative. If we're focused on struggle and darkness, hardship, then that's what's going to fill the void. That's what we're calling to us. Now, if we focus on, hey, some really messed up stuff happened, but it's growing me in some way. It's growing me in some way, and I'm ready to receive whatever this lesson was trying to gift me with, and I'm ready to ripen my understanding so I can level up. And that's what's going to happen. And that's part of the flow. That's absolutely part of the flow. Hi, Faith Jones. Yeah, it's part of the flow. And if you don't want to flow, that's okay too. Just know you're going to struggle. It's a lot easier to go downstream and just kind of float than it is to swim against the current. But in swimming against the current, when you go against it, that also provides the necessary resistance that you need to grow. So I don't feel like there's a right or wrong. I just feel like there's a difference in the way you're growing. One takes less effort, less struggle. The other way takes a lot of effort, a lot of struggle. Oftentimes, way more pain than what you bargained for. But hey, that's what you wanted. That's what you chose. You can't blame anyone else. You have to just take accountability for what you decided for yourself, right? So, are we going to flow? Or are we going to resist? Are we going to force? See, Cheryl says, I seem to always take the struggle instead of the flow. I seem to always take the struggle too. I think 99% of the time I take the path that involves more struggle. And I also hear quite often from other people, I mean, you're one of the strongest people that I know. You're one of the most fearless people that I know. And I think it's because I always choose the more difficult path. I'm pretty sure it's why. I always choose the more difficult path. And then there's times where I'm like, girl, can we not just take the easy path? And I get frustrated and I want to yell and I want to scream and I want to cry. And then I'm like, feel whatever you feel. This shit's growing you. Feel whatever you want to feel. But this shit is growing you. So fucking suck it up. Deal with it. You took this path. It's not going to break you. And if it breaks you, it breaks the parts of you that you thought you knew, but you really didn't. So let those pieces break. And that's how I get through my shit. Not even joking. That's how I get through it, because it's this knowing that whatever's broken is going to be fixed. And not only is it going to be fixed, it's going to be fortified, meaning it's a lot stronger. If our bodies are scaled down versions of creation, and you look at the way a human body heals itself, you'll see that where you break like a body, a bone, that's going to be the strongest part of the bone once it heals. It's going to be fortified. You're not going to break the bone there again. You're going to break it somewhere else. It's going to be a different type of break, but it's not going to break there again. That's not a weak point at that point. That's not going to be a weak area. It's going to be one of the most strongest parts of that bone. And so every time you get broken, you're being fortified. And maybe there's this part of us that just resists and tries to force and ends up getting broken because we need to be broken, because we are opening ourselves to the potentiality of fortification, spiritual, energetic, emotional, mental, physiological. Maybe that's what it is. Maybe we're opening ourselves to the potentiality of what we can be. Or maybe we're just stubborn. I don't know. I don't know. Oh, thank you, Faith. She says, you're a peaceful warrior, love. That's what we do. And it is what we do. It is what we do. Kristen Zing says, I don't want to be broken. Girl, neither do I. Neither do I. But in that breaking, it's just like when the little chick comes out of the egg. You can't exactly hatch without something breaking. So maybe in that breaking, you're actually being reborn. Maybe in that breaking, you're being reborn into a greater potentiality. I mean, shoot. When I gave birth, I felt my body being broken. I literally felt quite a bit. It was quite a freaking bit. It was completely unmedicated, and I felt everything. I felt it all. And you'd think that once you feel it all after giving birth, unmedicated, you'd think you'd feel as though, like, shit, the human body is so fragile, so easily broken. But it was quite the opposite, actually. Even though I was bruised and battered and stitched back together, there was this sense of like, I'm unfucking breakable. There's nothing I can't handle in this life. What if I die after I break? What if you live? Everybody dies. That's the thing I don't get. And this is one of the ways in which I can flow like a mofo. I'm not afraid of dying. I'm not afraid of dying. I'm more afraid of the aftermath of the people I leave behind versus me actually dying. I have a very real, tangible knowing that once the body dies, I don't die. It's the body. So I don't quite understand. Maybe it's a starseed issue, indigo issue, whatever the hell kind of issue. I don't get it. Everyone is so afraid of dying that they don't realize they aren't actually living. This fear of not feeling, this fear of being hurt is paralyzing you. And if you're not living, you're already dead. Inside, in here, you're already dead. You're a walking corpse. So why be afraid of breaking? In that breaking, I know I'm still alive. In feeling that pain, I know I'm still functioning as a human being. I'm still here having a very real, very fruitful human experience. And maybe it's just I'm a masochist. I don't know. I don't know. But I'm not afraid of dying. I'm afraid of not actually living. It's quite the opposite for me. Like, have I done enough? Have I left enough of a mark? Not on humanity, but on my children. Have I left enough of a mark within their minds that they would be so inspired to take up the work that I'm doing now? And that's my fear. Have I lived enough in such a way that my actions speak for me and my words are nothing more than a reiteration of what I'm already doing? And have I done that in such a way that has inspired my children to share the same kind of heart, same level of compassion. I'm just like, I don't really know what I'm doing. I'm just hoping that it's enough. And maybe that's part of the resistance and flow. My resistance in seeing, acknowledging exactly how much I'm doing and forcing myself to accept who I am. I mean, there's a lot of resistance and flow in every aspect of your life. It's not just energetic, but at the same time it is, because everything, emotions, biological processes, everything is energy. Even your bodies, your bodies are densified energy condensed into flesh. So everything's kind of like cyclical, isn't it? Mel says, at what point do you know you break? That one really hits close to home because of the fact that the way my mind is set up, even my physiological body, I don't know what point I break until I'm already broken, well into broken. Like if you look, I could keep going back. And then suddenly my finger is freaking dislocated. I don't feel pain until after the moment has passed. So maybe that's one of the things that was programmed into my being, so that the fear doesn't prevent me from the experience. It doesn't keep me from the experience. And maybe in that sense, I could take comfort in knowing I actually am living, because that level of fear, that type of fear, doesn't exist within me. You know, and I've been told many times by all kind of family members, like, you a little too brave for your own good. Am I though? Or am I just being me? Is it brave or just a lack of comprehension of what the danger is? Because I understand that the danger is nothing more than an illusion. So long as I'm not willing to give permission for that to affect me, it's not going to affect me. And you guys are probably like, oh, there's circumstances that, that doesn't make sense. Well, let me put it in very basic terms. You can tie me up and beat the shit out of me and torture me. But as long as I don't see myself as a victim, then you have not victimized me. Let that sink in. As long as I don't see myself as a victim, then you have failed at victimizing me. There's just no way to victimize someone who refuses to be a victim. Someone who understands no matter what you do to my body, it's going to heal. And no matter what you attempt to do to my mind, unless I give you permission, you're not going to break me. And as a matter of fact, not only are you not going to break me, I'm going to sit here in gratitude in front of you, because right now you are showing me an external representation of an internal circumstance. You're helping me to grow myself, my understanding of myself. And I know that on a soul level, you volunteered before we even came into this life. You volunteered to be the one to do this dirty ass deed of teaching me on a level no one else could. And man, what kind of love does it take for someone to volunteer to do that kind of work? So at the end of the day, I recognize everything is love. In some weird ass way, everything is love. Everything you experience is a form of self-love. And I'm not talking about that limited perception of human self-love, where it's like, oh, I got to do a spa day, I got to do girls' night out, I got to sleep X amount of hours. And sometimes that self-love transcends human comprehension and enters into something so profound that it becomes sublime in a very twisted and crazy ass way. And it's something you might not even be able to explain until you actually live through it. And not just live through it, but choose to be a thriver, you know? Going beyond the concept of surviving and entering the reality of thriving. That's some shit right there. I'm 17, and how would I know who is going to break me? The only one that can break you is you. The only one that can break you is you. Really, truly. The only one that can break you is you. No one else. No one else. And I've lived a life that is proof. That's absolute proof of this. Day in and day out. I mean, if other people had the power to break you, I should have been broken a long time ago. I should have been broken as a child. I mean, yeah. I should have been broken as a child. And that's just, even as a child, I had enough of my sovereignty intact where I was defiant about being broken and staying broken. As a child, yeah, you were able to break me, but fuck that if I'm going to stay down broken. And now as an adult, I see very, very clearly that there really is no one that can break me. You know, there will be people who exist who have intentions of derailing whatever your sole purpose is, your path. Silly human. What a silly human. To think that a human being could undo what a soul has decided. I don't get it. I don't get it. And I'm glad I don't. Because I will never, ever, ever bow down or cower at the foot of my oppressor. Like, do with me in this life whatever you will, but you'll never break me. The me that exists within the meat suit, behind the eyes, has existed for far too long to buy into the lie that you can break me. I know that for a fact. I've existed for far too long. The I that's behind the eyes has existed for far too long, has lived too many lives, has experienced so much hardship that I know there's nothing in this human life that could ever actually break me. And maybe you found this live for a reason. Maybe this truth, and this is not just my truth. This is not unique to me. That's the thing. There's people who will hear me talking and they think all of these things are unique to me, and they're not. They're really, really not. I'm not the only one who's lived many lives. I'm not the only one who recalls quite a few of those lives. I'm not the only one. And it's not just 2 of us, 3 of us, 5 of us, 10 of us, 12 of us. It's quite a bit, quite a bit. It would be much more rare to find someone who's never lived a life before, who's only lived one life, than it is to find an individual who's had multiple lives. It's far more rare, much, much more rare. Right, Billy? It's our choice. Soul is always free and eternal. Always, always. And if you want to take it to a much deeper understanding, soul is always free, even though you're living in body. People go astral. People have out of body experiences, near death experiences. They can go etheric. And at that point, the soul is freeing itself from the confines of the flesh. So literally, the soul is free. It's always free. Have you ever encountered someone who lived one life? No. Never. I've encountered many people who don't remember any lives except for this one. but I have never met a single person who has only lived one life. Ever. Am I saying that there's no one out there like that? No, I just don't. I've never met anyone like that, you know? Is there a way to be happy like forever? Happiness is a state of mind. It's a state of mind. It's not a state of being. And to truly live, you're a dynamic piece of creation. You're not static. You're here to experience the fluctuations of energy, of emotion, consciousness. You exist within a plane of existence that has poles. And are you really living if you're just stuck on one degree of being? Because life is actually like a dance. That pendulum of life dances between the poles. And that's what you're supposed to do. Fully allowing yourself to feel the full range of motion and emotion. That's what being in this life is about, allowing yourself to feel the full range of motion and emotion. And to feel only one thing, one fixed thing, it tells me you're afraid to live. So you're not actually afraid of dying, you're afraid of living. You're not afraid of being broken. You're afraid that in that breaking, the parts of you that you're afraid to look at will be exposed. And it's okay to feel that way because a lot of people feel that way. Hell, I feel that way. And maybe what it is you just need a little bit more time to get comfortable with rediscovering who you actually are, not the you that society, parents, friends perceive you should be, because that's a whole different thing. The person that people think you should be is not who you actually are. Like at all. At all. Have our souls always been? Yes. Always. Always. They're fractals cleaved from fractals, which were cleaved from fractals. And it keeps, there's some who believe that it's in groups of 12. So the God source created 12, which then subdivided into 12 each, which then 12 each, 12 each, 12 each, 12 each, 12 each, until that stair-step creation ended up with where we're at right now. So yeah, souls have always been. We're made of units of consciousness. Consciousness has always existed. They're units of God. God is love. So we've always existed. In this form, no, not always, but we have always existed because energy can't be destroyed. It can only be transmuted. It can be shifted in form and expression, but it can never be destroyed. So we have always, always existed. You don't really grow or learn from happiness. It's the pain that grows you. Yes, pain is the teacher. Pain is absolutely the teacher. Why is my hair like all funky? Pain is a teacher. Yep, absolutely. Hi, BBK. Hi, Kim Stagel. So, flow versus resistance versus force. I think everything but flow is futile. You can't sustain it. You can attempt to. You definitely can, but it's just not sustainable. You experience fatigue. You experience breakdown. And maybe that's why we do those things. Maybe that's why we attempt to force or resist, because we need to be broken down. I mean, that's what ascension is, really. That's what ascension is. Ascension is the controlled demolition of self. The fractals of self that you think you know, emphasis on think, those are broken down. And as those are shed, you become lighter and you rise in dimensional frequency, in dimensional consciousness. The higher the frequency, the higher the level of consciousness. The higher the level of consciousness, the higher your inner and understanding of creation and your place in it. And maybe that's why we resist. Maybe that's why we try and force, so that we can have broken away from us the very things that are weighing us down. And maybe the flow wasn't meant to be sustained either. Maybe the flow is just that respite from the struggle, from the resistance. I mean, you can't exactly just keep lifting weights all day, right? There's a certain amount of time before you experience muscle failure, muscle fatigue. And once you do that, you've maximized the potentiality of muscular growth. Because once you experience muscle failure, you've completely destroyed as much of that muscle fiber as you can. And given the proper tools, if you ingest the proper nutrients at the proper time, your muscle will fill those micro tears. And that's how you get growth. So, you're worn out. Life has worn you out. There's so much struggle, so it's just too much. And it's breaking you down, and you don't think you could take it no more, and you're just at the edge, and you're like, fuck! That's it. That's it. I'm fucking over this shit. Boom. You got that muscle failure. I'm a fucking failure. I failed. Boom. There you go. That's how you grow the fastest. Work that muscle until it fails and then feed it. Give it the proper building blocks. So when you fail, what happens? Do you shut down? Most of us do. If you work that muscle to muscle failure and you don't eat the proteins that are necessary to build that back up, you don't have aminos to build that back up, you're not growing. You're just going to be fucking sore. You're just going to be sore, is what it is. But that moment where you fail and you're like, fudge, I failed, I'm a failure, and you're ready to break down, you're like, no, hold on. How did I get to this point? I need to look at this. I need to see exactly what the fuck went wrong, when it went wrong, what was my part in co-creating this fucked up shit, so I don't repeat it again. You probably will. I usually do. And then you look at it and suddenly you have the blocks that are necessary to build yourself back up. You've just leveled up. Hey, those blocks that you need to build yourself back up are the very same blocks that you could use to step up in level. So is failure really failure, or is failure nothing more than the process of leveling up? I don't know. Fear of change and fear of trying something that's not familiar. Yes, Jenny Hofelina. Yes, you fear what you don't know. The only constant in life, in creation, is change. I hate to break that to you guys. Read on mental alchemy. Read the Kybalion. That'll teach you about mental alchemy. And really, the only constant in life is change. Nothing else is constant. It's always in a state of flux. And the reason change is constant is because it is the definition of flux. So if you fear change, if you fear trying something that's not familiar, then really, I mean, based off of what I just said, are you afraid of living? Are you afraid of existing? It's like a river. It's never the same in one spot. Yeah. Even at time of day, it's never the same. The season is never the same. I love that song. like a river. Shut your mouth and flow like a river. Shut your mouth. I've been singing that for days. Please, no more. Don't sing that song anymore. Okay. Is it because we overthink too much? Yes. That has a lot to do with it. Over anything does not help you. Too much vitamins can become toxic. Too much, of what the hell was that? I thought something was on me. Too much of anything doesn't help you. It's good to think. It's good to observe. It's good to just take note of exactly what it is you're observing. But if you become overly analytic, you're just tearing yourself down for what? So you can be rebuilt. So even that has purpose. But if you're talking about, is overthinking bad in regards to minimizing struggle, then yeah. But everything in life serves your growth. It just really, all it does is affect the rate at which you grow. Some people will be like, I'm so tired of all this trauma that I've experienced. Well, hello, trauma-induced accretion. I coined that term because I recognized in like 20 years of field work, I recognized, oh shit, whenever people experience trauma, they accrete massive amounts of energy, of frequency, higher levels of frequency. And they use this kind of like amino acids are used as building blocks to repair, to increase, all of that. So I believe we only fail if we don't get back up and try again. Sometimes it could take years to get back up, but if we try again, that's a success. We always get a chance to try again. I agree, Billy. I definitely agree. Faith Jones, first attempt in learning. Fail. First attempt in learning. Love that. So Mary Alice says, I feel like I lost my way. Nothing I do seems to get better. What's your definition of better? Is it maybe that your perception of better is what needs adjustment? Or maybe you're being prepared to be able to fully appreciate the gravity of whatever it is your soul is ushering you towards. Could it be that? I mean, it could be a whole bunch of different things. I thought you were going to bust out with just around the river bend, my Pocahontas. Thankfully, I don't know that. Just around the river bend. No, I was talking about Bishop Briggs, like a river. Hush your mouth and flow like a river. Hush your mouth and flow like a river. My husband's like, can you stop yelling? For days. Like a river, like a river. Hush your fuss and run me like a river. Hush your fuss. I better stop. My kids are going to come down here and they're going to be like, Mom, why are you yelling again? It's called singing. It's called singing. Okay. All right, guys. I think I've processed enough of my thoughts and my questioning. Definitely. Hi, Summer. There's these times where I totally just have a complete meltdown of the mind. And I get really hard on myself and I'm like, when are you ever going to learn? Are you ever going to learn this? And I recognize no, I'm not. I'm going to keep learning because in life, the only time you really stop learning is when you die. When you've learned everything you need to learn in this life, that's when you die. That's when you graduate to the next level. I don't even want to tell you how long Michael said I'm supposed to live. I'm like, motherfucker. I better stay wrinkle free, fool. I'm just saying. If you volunteer me for that long, you better give me good skin. I don't want to have no crepey ass skin. No, it's more than just the aesthetics vanity. I really do need to have healthy skin. I don't want no hurting ass skin. That hurts. I want to be comfortable. All right. So I'm really gonna get going now. Thank you guys so much for just being open to me kind of processing my thoughts on how screwed up the past few days have been, the past week or two, or maybe month, maybe, or maybe, I don't know, 7 months. But I don't know. I don't know. I see this as like there were quite a few things that have just really been running through my mind, and I haven't really allowed myself enough time or compassion to process it. And maybe I haven't allowed myself that time and compassion because I needed to do it here and share some of these thoughts and maybe help some people process their own thoughts just by hearing me process mine. Maybe, maybe. I do recognize that we never really go through the lessons alone. We do it as a group. The details might be a little bit different, but I recognize we have groups of souls who go through the same lessons at the same time. And the lessons for the souls are different. For the groups, I mean, they're different. Yet it all kind of comes together at the end. And we all help each other ripen our inner and understanding of self, of soul, of life, of creation, of all of that. And if we're not willing to speak on it, if we're not willing to share because we're ashamed that we're not perfect, I don't know. Maybe my thoughts are a little bit skewed because I don't think I've been in any closer to being a perfect me than I am right now. You know what I mean? Like, this is the most perfect me I'll be up until this point. And then in 5 minutes from now, that's going to be the most perfect me because every single minute of your life, you are evolving into an even more perfect version of yourself. And this is something you don't have to try to do. You just are. You just are. And the more you shed in regards to your distorted perceptions and beliefs of yourself, the more perfect you become in your purpose, in your being. That's deep. I gotta write that down. That's deep. Hold on. And I don't remember what I said. Shit. I have really bad short-term memory. All right, guys. I just remembered I said I was going to get going. I'm going to get going. If you haven't already subscribed to my channel here on YouTube, please do subscribe. Turn on that notification bell. Join me whenever I come live. Oh, I don't have a set schedule. I just kind of do it. So if you want to be a part of it, you got to turn on that notification bell. For all my Facebook people, if you haven't already liked my page, what are you waiting for? Like my page, just like it. Just click on the like button. And then that way I can see if you're like Linda Hickton, she's a top fan with a diamond on the side. You know what I'm saying? I will have to watch the replay, but I typically forget. I always tell myself, I mean, I'll just watch the replay and then I never do. I like 99.99999% of the time, I don't rewatch my live streams. I just can't do it. I just can't do it. I cannot watch myself. What kind of freaking... I need to write this down. No. Okay, let me quit messing around. Good night, guys. If you want to join me, YouTube and Facebook, join me over on Instagram. I'm going to do some readings on Instagram. I don't know what this is. I'm assuming this is me trying to level up. I'm definitely going to be on Instagram in a minute. Join me, Emmy Evolving across the board. We're going to bring Twitter up in this. Does Twitter do like voice recordings? Because maybe I could just do that. I have to check in that. I don't think they do voice recordings. But I do know on Twitter, my son sent me a link. There was this woman who was live with a goat named Billy wearing glasses and a PJ onesie. And she was like, why you go salty? I was like, what the hell did I just watch? And she said her baby goat, Billy, was pissed at his daddy because his daddy beat his ass for climbing on the dresser, spilling all the soda. I was like, oh, whatever. You can't beat kids for spilling soda. That's child abuse. Okay, guys. Good night. Bye.